Up with KREM begins now.
Here we go, 6 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning. Thanks for waking up with us here on the show. I'm Tim Pham.
And I'm Nicole Hernandez. Well, we both obviously get in really early, like before 4 a.m. early. When you were driving in and when I was driving in, it wasn't really that foggy, right?
Yeah, I got some fog in downtown Spokane, but not so much on Spokane South Hill.
Yeah, so now it looks like things have been developing through the morning. So we've got our meteorologist, Thomas Patrick, here with us. Thomas, how bad is it now?
Yeah, and that's my job, is to keep on top of things, not just say, it wasn't foggy on my commute to work. But now it is incredibly foggy here at our station over downtown. Coeur d'Alene has been getting some of the worst of it this morning. This is why we had our weather impact alert day basically called from yesterday into today to make sure that everybody got that heads up. And yeah, it is here likely tomorrow as well. So here's the latest on those visibility reports. Basically right before 5 a.m., I watched the visibility report in Spokane go from 10 to 1 to 1/8 of a mile in the span of 10 minutes. So it happened very fast and very suddenly, and it's likely going to stay for the remainder of the morning, likely the next 4 to 6 hours. So it's going to stay very foggy or even get worse between now and sunrise. So expect foggy conditions and colder weather this morning, especially for most of the metro and northward. The Palouse appears to be off the hook today. You'll see more sunshine today as a result. I think the afternoon we'll see sunshine when that fog breaks, but highs will only be in the 40s as opposed to 50s.
Thank you, Thomas. Taking a live look at I-90 in Freya now, where you can see exactly what Thomas is talking about, all of the fog that is here across our region. Because of that, be careful this morning on the roads. It will slow things down. We're not seeing anything major in terms of backups or congestion at this point, but with this fog, make sure you're giving yourself a little bit of extra time this morning.
Let's get you to breaking news from overnight. There was a big police response this morning out in Spokane Valley. We do have phone calls out to the Spokane County Sheriff's Office to find out what happened. You're seeing video from our photojournalist from earlier this morning. What we do know is that this all started around 2 a.m. this morning. Deputies closed off North Argonne Road near East Upriver Drive for several hours. Again, we do have phone calls out. We'll let you know as soon as we learn more.
Flu season is still getting worse here, and a local hospital is working to limit the spread of the virus.
KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones live in Spokane for us. Brandon, you spoke with Providence Sacred Heart, and they're kind of changing their policy right now because of what they're seeing this season, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Good morning, Tim, Nicole. And the good news is that this flu season doesn't seem as rampant as it was last year. The numbers are a little bit lower. We'll talk about that here in just a few moments. But as for some of the changes here at Sacred Heart for Providence clinics, they're actually taking some steps to go ahead and help prevent any further spread. So if you're coming to the hospital, if you have to visit anyone here in the near future, there are a few new changes here in place. To help prevent the spread, Sacred Heart has some temporary policies, including right now, visiting hours will be between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. As of this week, visitors under the age of 18 are not allowed in various departments throughout Providence clinics and hospitals. Officials tell us there are exceptions and to check with hospital staffing about those exceptions. Also, if you're taking a trip or visiting anyone in the hospital, you'll have to follow the current masking guidelines in place.
Our trends are mirroring national trends. It's starting to peak, and we're probably about 3 or 4 weeks away from our peak in Washington State, but we're hitting a percentage of emergency department visits that are being diagnosed as influenza that leads us to want to protect our patients within the hospital as well as our staff, which is why we've started our masking policy.
So according to the Spokane Regional Health District, flu numbers are lower right now than they were at this particular point last year. Again, that was the good news we were mentioning, but they have seen numbers rise in the last month or so. With that in mind, of course, there are easy ways to prevent the spread of that, such as washing your hands, making sure you're staying on top of that. And if you feel sick, to also stay home, prevent any further spread of any type of respiratory illness. For now, they're reporting live here in Spokane. Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
This morning, 2 House bills sponsored by State Senator Marcus Riccelli of Spokane will receive public hearings. The first bill is Senate Bill 5884, the Pavement to People bill. This would expand the sales and use tax deferral programs to turn vacant lots like parking lots into housing. The second Senate Bill 5885 would require cities and counties to increase affordable housing developments on land owned by religious organizations. The hearing begins at 10:30 this morning.
No ICE! No KKK! No fascist USA!
Yesterday, more than 1,200 students across 6 Spokane high schools walked out of class. They were walking out against ice. It was students from Lewis and Clark, North Central, Ferris, St. George, Mount Spokane, and Gonzaga Prep. Now, these walkouts happened around lunchtime.
It was organized by Spokane Students for Human Decency. They say they wanted to show the community the younger generation is ready to make a stand. New in the last 12 hours, former Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich announced he's running for governor of Wyoming. This is a look at his campaign logo. Right now, there are some people challenging his eligibility. Knezovich moved to Wyoming in early 2023 after serving as the Spokane County Sheriff for 16 years. In Wyoming, the rules say the candidate has to be a resident for at least 5 years before they can run for governor. Knezovich says he's owned a home there for 9 years and believes that may qualify him.
Last night, the Spokane Fire Department gave an update on the fire mitigation work they've done near High Drive. They started this project 2 years ago and have been thinning out the trees on the bluff for fire mitigation. Spokane Fire says they've gone through about 300 acres of the approximate 600 or 700 that are there.
Living down the bluff, I've had to call and report fires, little brush fires that I've seen.
As part of the work, crews have been felling whole trees and pruning the trees that they're leaving. Then they're chipping down the slash piles. Spokane Fire hopes this reduces severe fire risk.
A judge again delayed the murder case for the man who allegedly killed a Moses Lake woman back in 2022. Her family told us they have to wait for a new defense lawyer because the current one stepped away. Yanira Cedillos disappeared in March of 2022. Moses Lake police say they found evidence that she was murdered in her apartment. Police arrested her ex-boyfriend, who now faces second-degree charges for murder and rape. The next court date is scheduled for January 26. A disturbing story this morning. Right now, the Osotun County Sheriff's Office is asking for the community's help to find the person who shot a puppy multiple times with a BB gun. Deputies responded to a call about an injured puppy on Monday and also found signs of strangulation. They took the puppy to the vet and say it is expected to make a full recovery. There is still one BB pellet stuck in the puppy's head, though. If you have any information, they are offering a $500 reward. You're asked to call the Osotun County Sheriff's Office at the number on your screen.
New numbers this morning show Obamacare enrollment has dropped compared to this time last year. About 800,000 fewer people signed up for coverage through early January. The federal government says 22.8 million people signed up through January 3rd compared to 23.6 million at the same time last year. Remember, the enhanced premium subsidies expired in December and premiums went up dramatically. People can still enroll. The deadline is tomorrow.
Right now, we are waiting for a decision from the Supreme Court after it heard arguments in 2 cases regarding transgender athletes. One of those cases is from Idaho. LGBTQ plus advocates say 27 states have enacted bans of transgender athletes competing on women's teams. At issue is whether those bans are permissible under the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment or Title IX. After Tuesday's session, some justices signaled they would be prepared to side with the states and their bans. However, several justices noted concerns they have about potential spillover effects beyond athletics. A decision is expected by the end of June.
Time is 6:09. We are tracking fog across the region. And while we don't have dense fog advisories issued, the National Weather Service did put out what's called a special weather statement, effectively just highlighting the areas that we are watching and monitoring closely. Everything shaded in this white region from Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, and northward primarily, all seen at minimum patchy dense fog, but there are plenty of locations that look just like this. That's out in Coeur d'Alene, and temperatures are below freezing. So bit of a freezing fog impact, which means some bridges and overpasses might end up a little bit frosty or icier than you may expect.